So you clicked on this video more than likely because you want to learn how to get jacked and also maintain a good level of leanness with your physique while you're in the midst of bulking. Hopefully you understand that bulking is the way to go when it comes to gaining the most amount of muscle possible. If you don't know, now you know. A calorie surplus is the most optimal way to get bigger or stronger, no debate. If you're on board with doing that, but you also want to stay lean, that's not a catch-22, and there's a few principles that allow you to do that. So there's 5 major principles that allow you to maintain your leanness and your aesthetics, maybe even build upon them. We'll get into that later. That's preparation, consistency, escalation, effort, and activity. Those break down into smaller ways that you go about implementing those principles, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So first is preparation. To bulk, you have to cut, you have to bulk, and so on. If you're not happy with the way that you look in terms of if you're a little on the chubbier side or you need to trim down a little bit, do that. When I bulk from the smallest body fat percentage that I can comfortably get to. For me, that's sub 10% body fat. That's what I cut to the last time that I cut. For you, that might just be something more comfortable from where you're at now. If you're on the skinnier side already and you don't have visible abs because you don't have a lot of muscle mass and you're like 120, 130 pounds, do not cut. You're already right where you need to be at. What you don't build a strong foundation on, though, you can't build a tall building out of, right? So preparation is key. Next is consistency, and that isn't just, oh, eat the same macros every day, eat my chicken, brown rice, and broccoli every day. Yes, you should eat similar categories of things every day. That's the most important part. Well, what I want to talk about is how to make that easy for yourself. It's self-evident truth that if you want to be good at something or become better at it, that you have to be consistent. How you make it easy in terms of your diet is, dude, you have to learn how to cook. So that's, I call them the mythical secret seasonings. That's just an inside joke between me and my OG subscribers. But I season the fuck out of my food. I make a lot of sauces, things like that, to help spice up my food and make eating like beef and chicken and turkey and things like that, and rice and potatoes and the same vegetables exciting. Learn how to roast your vegetables and give them flavor with seasonings. Know how to combine those things with protein and carbs and things like that in a way that is delicious. If you make your food really, really good, you're not gonna wanna rely on Uber Eats, or much the same, you won't have to rely on eating bland ass shit every day, right? So the easiest way to be consistent is to make it fun. Adherence is everything. Next is effort. I train my abs and all my muscles throughout a bulk very hard. Why did I say abs first? Because people treat abs, and calves for that matter, it's another discussion altogether, but they treat abs like they're not a muscle, like they don't respond to volume and progressive overload, like they can't get bigger like every other muscle. There's a difference between people that train their abs with heavy resistance exercises, and that's not just compound movements, that's heavy GHD sit-ups, like I talk about in this video here. When you bulk up those abs, as you start to gain a little bit of fat, even as you lean bulk, you will gain a little bit of fat over time. But even still, you make those muscles bigger, they're gonna look more jacked and they'll still be extremely visible as you bulk. That is the #1 cheat code that you can apply to your training while you're bulking to preserve your aesthetics. That also means training your obliques as well. Training your obliques and getting them bigger and more defined is not going to make your core look more blocky or give you this block taper. Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, like most of the people that worry about getting like a blocky waist don't have any type of aesthetic shape to begin with. And they will only improve their aesthetics by training their abs and then like their shoulders and their lats and things like that. You're not gonna make your aesthetics worse by improving the shape of your abs. You're not gonna get that bloated bubble gut unless you take obscene amounts of growth hormone and horse medication, that's what we'll call it. You only get more jacked abs. It's only gonna make you feel better in the midst of your bulk. When you know you're putting on all this weight, maybe 6-7 months down the line, you're 10-15 pounds heavier, but you can still see your abs. I cannot stress this enough. GHD sit-ups, hanging leg raises, ab wheel rollouts. That's my holy trinity of ab exercises. Let me know down below if you want me to make that into a separate video. Escalation comes into play with effort. So where you apply a good effort here, you have to be willing to have the mental toughness to do even more the next time. And that's not literally just add 5 pounds each time I train because I'm hardcore and I'm gonna do that until I bench press 1,000 pounds. That's no. Make a concerted effort over time to trend upwards. That's not even just in the gym, guys. That is in terms of your diet as well. Not only do you need to be consistent with it, and Juji Mufu made an excellent video about this, talking about this concept. You have to be willing to progressively overload your calories as well. So where you eat 3,000 here, and that might seem like a ton, you need to be willing to eat 3,600 in the future. When 3,000 calories is no longer a surplus because you're heavier, your activity levels are higher because you're stronger, your work capacity is higher. You need to be willing to do whatever you need to keep that needle moving forward. What that looks like on a bulk realistically, and this is just something that I can speak on because I've bulked and cut enough to speak on this, is that just because you're not gaining weight on the scale does not mean that you're not gaining fat or muscle, or that you're losing weight or fat. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of like giga-brain nerdy things that come into play with what your scale weight is on a day-to-day basis. Hormone levels, water retention, whatever. If you don't gain weight in a week, it might not necessarily indicate that you didn't gain like actual lean tissue or fat, right? If you don't gain weight over 2 or 3 weeks, that's a good indication that you need to eat a little bit more, or that you need to make sure that you're actually being consistent and you're tracking these things accurately. 2 or 3 weeks later, if you're not gaining weight, just increase 200 or 300 more calories from where you're at. Be in that surplus and be willing to eat more than you are now. The last thing is activity, and this is the icing on the cake. Everything contributes to one another synergistically. Keep your activity levels pretty high. That means even when you're bulking, do your cardio. I like to use the assault bike. That's my preferred weapon of choice. And on top of that, I like to keep my base activity levels pretty high. So I talk with my hands a lot. You know, I like speaking to people. I'm always walking around, pacing around and stuff like that. But on top of that, I also make sure that I get in like 10,000 steps a day, up to 15,000 steps a day. You keep that activity level high to keep your ticker strong. That's your heart muscle. That's your most important muscle of all besides your brain, right? So it's okay being jacked and everything like that. But if your heart ain't strong, again, your foundation isn't strong. Stronger cardio, better cardio means that you can perform better in the weight room, do more reps and sets because your gas tank will be larger and you'll have more of a reserve energy to draw from. It'll mean that you can train for longer in the gym, more volume, more sets, more exercises, more everything. And then the activity level is just going to help with recovery. All of these 5 principles blend synergistically into one another. They are very simple to implement. Some of them may be harder for y'all to implement than others, I'm not going to lie to you. But if you add even one, it's going to make that process of staying lean while you bulk just that much easier. Let me know if y'all have any questions about these principles. Let me know if there's anything that you want me to add to an addendum comment that you think is a nice little tidbit that could help someone down the line. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Have a beautiful day.